What it do, what it don't, what it will, what it won't. It is another Friday, another opportunity to get together and record the Ball Hog Sports Talk. You know what that is. That's when sports, business, and entertainment collide. We do it one way and one way only. That's raw. The crew is in the building. There's two of us. We're two sports guys. No, actually, two businessmen get together to discuss sports in an entertaining fashion. But we are sports guys too. We're going to have a good time today. Today's episode is going by the title of Keeping It Rebellious. And so, if you've never experienced this thing known as the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, you will find out very quickly. We put a lot into our titles, and then we put a lot into our show. You're going to get both of those things, a great title and a great show today. Keeping It Rebellious. With no further ado, boys and girls, cats and rats, dogs and frogs, anything and everything in between, fasten your seatbelt. Make sure that you pour yourself a nice tall mug of coffee. Spike it with whatever you will. The spring is now here. We're going to spring into some Ball Hog Sports Talk. No further ado, let's go.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go.
You know what it is. You know what it is, baby. It's another Friday, man. The spring is here. I guess we both got the memo. It's Black T-shirt day. We got all of our billionaire ambitions coming out because this is what normally billionaires look like. Just
Simon Cowell. It's my Simon Cowell. Black
Cowell,
T-shirt
man.
every day.
He does a few things in the entertainment space, so maybe it'll be contagious. We'll get to that level in no time. I guess it'd be a perfect time to say to those who are in the live audience, please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone you know, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast so we can get on our Simon Cowell thing. But you guys know this particular gentleman on the screen, the person that I get the distinction to be alongside on this journey called the Ball Hog Sports Talk is the man, the myth, the legend. Thou shall be intergalactically known and respected as. When you say it with your chest. Make sure that you got some bass in your voice. He is the Big Flow Show. What's up, my brother?
Man, what's good? What's good? You know, for those of my friends that have been posting comments on the Facebook page and have not shown up, I think we figured it out. So if you're on the Facebook page and you like to comment, throw one out there and we'll see what happens. Say what's good. And we'll try to acknowledge as many comments as we can, but I think we figured it out.
I think we done figured it out. It only took a whole bunch of years of
About
experience.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months.
We got this, man. We got this, man. Ain't nobody better than us when it comes to figure out these problems. So these are good problems to have as we figure out the technology. But problems nonetheless.
Our production staff has been on a 3-year vacation, so we need to understand that sometimes, we need to start one of those Patreon accounts so we can afford a little
bit of love.
Production help.
Man. If you have any questions,
taking resumes for those of you guys who would like to work for in Creole to say Pugatis. So it's work for gratitude. So if you'd like to work for our gratitude,
I like what you did there.
Yeah. Gotta go multilingual on them.
Well, let's go multilingual and get on in today, man, because there's some good stuff this week. It has been this is the transition period when we get out of March Madness and we start really ramping up the NBA playoff picture. As we're doing all of that, you got the NFL draft coming clear into picture. And you got the WNBA season starting off. NHL is cranking. MLB is in the first. I guess you got to break their season in the 10ths. They're still in the first 10th of their season. But nonetheless, a lot of sports, a lot of headlines. But we don't have a lot of time, so we're going to get right to it. We got to keeping it rebellious is the name of the show. And it was inspired by a particular gentleman who we shall get to. We'll start with him. Why don't we go ahead and start with him? Because John Morant decided to go from his imaginary brandishing of weapons that earned him it earned him not only a fine, but it's earned him really the distinction of being just dumb as hell. That's how everyone's looking at him right now with all the money he squandered. John Morant basically said, after getting a $75,000 fine, after hitting a 3-pointer and showing what looked like a long range sniper
Well,
magic.
they gave him 75 for that, huh?
$75,000.
Hey, I got a real quick introduction.
Go ahead.
Ja, give me some tickets to the game. Hear me out. Every time you hit a three, I would shoot the whole club up for 50 grand. The whole club.
You made out like a champ.
Yeah, 50 G's. I'll do it.
You made out
Put
like
your
a
jersey
champ.
on and a schmedium. But go ahead.
Yeah. You made out like a champ in that case. It is interesting to see that you throw $75,000 away that way, but it is what it is. That's how he decided to do it. But he doubled down. And instead of going completely away from any artillery that you can imagine, instead of playing it completely PC, he doubled down and now he's throwing a grenade. And I think it's actually pretty amusing. He takes the pin off. He throws an imaginary grenade into the crowd for some reason, as opposed to at the opposing bench. He's throwing it into the crowd, and he puts his hands over his earmuffs, because he doesn't want to hear the explosive. In ways, it's ridiculous. In other ways, you got to respect the fact that he is not keeping it real, but keeping it rebellious. As Adam Silver and the powers that be try to tame him in ways that he feels might be out of bounds. Right? I'm a grown ass man, dog. You can imagine him saying, as he throws this imaginary grenade, and shall not be tamed by Adam Silver and the powers that be. What are we thinking here? Are we respecting the fact that he is not doing what a lot of people would do and staying in bounds? Or is this something that we cannot respect? Towing a line of insanity, because 75,000 every time you do something is one thing, but the image and the PR crisis that seems to be coming along with this has its own costly measures that might not be, a letter in the mail from Adam Silver of $75,000, but I would say even beyond quantifiable what the PR crisis has been for John Morant. What say you?
I say, you know what? I typically I'm the grandpa that'll say, hey man, get in line. It's not worth the bread, whatever. But here's a guy, a young stage in his life. Even though his name is Clarence and he went to a private school and he's got two good parents, he's decided that he's going to go to a persona that he wants to, and that's his right. Everyone changes in life, doing whatever.
You think he like snaps his fingers, like, all right, get into character, go.
Get into character, and he's out here clowning on the basketball court. He's got his, I think they were the seventh seed or whatever. But they're right in the mix with everybody else. He's trying to do what he's going to go do. And I think it's much to made of nothing. I think he's having fun with it. I remember when I was a kid and the Chicago Bears, this was before you were born. Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl and they had Jim McMahon and he had a lot of what up, Cheeky Black. He had a lot of Roger Goodell. Oh, what was that? Roger Goodell. What was his Roselle? What was his name? It's a long
Pete
time
Rozelle?
ago. Pete Rozelle. And he would put messages on his headband just to antagonize him because he was getting fined for things and do whatever. And like I do feel like, this country's a big proponent of freedom of speech and freedom of expression and different things of that nature. I think we're making too much of it about the whole gun shooting thing. Not everything is as deep as that. Right. So we're making the link between gun violence, like street violence and school shooters. The NFL was the guys pulling the arrows and emptying the quill of shooting people with the arrow. Arrow is just as deadly as a gun, and I just think sometimes we just make too big of a deal about gestures. I know that the throat slash was something that I don't know if it was the OJ times or whatever, but you can't throat slash anymore. I saw somebody used to do this thing like this and act like he was hanging himself, and they said you couldn't do that. And I just think at some point, I think sexual gestures are always going to be bad, but some of these, you know,
You think sexual gestures are worse than violent gestures?
I do because I mean, with all the video games and movies we watch and all the stuff like that, I don't think people make the true connection. Is John Morant really saying "I'm going to kill you" because he shot a three, or is he just like take that, take that, take that? You know what I mean? Like, what makes a gesture offensive? Again, something that's like sexually explicit and gross. I mean, we have as a society allowed violence and be around the kids. There's everything. There's violence and everything, and I think that it's been normalized. And in a balanced child, they know the difference. Do you want to do grabbing your crotch or pounding? That could be a little just too much, in my opinion. But I don't know. I think John Moran throwing a grenade and doing whatever. Again, if someone thinks they're a war veteran and that's offensive, whatever, we could go on and on about what's going to be offensive. But I think it's funny that he's just going to toe the line and keep finding new ways to draw attention to himself because now he's taking this villain role. He's already given up being America's, hero, right? That's gone. He killed that. So
Face of the NBA.
yeah, so
He had
that's
a
dead though.
seat.
That's not coming back. That's dead. So he let that ride. Although I will say, what's the defensive end? Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
He went from being banned for beating that dude with a helmet to being NFL Man of the Year in one season. So we will forgive you. As long as you don't mess with dogs.
Myles Garrett was a lot more apologetic than
No,
John
but I
Morant.
was just correcting my own self saying it's over and you can't do anything about it. That
There's still a possible
it's a
a road
possibility to come
towards
back.
yeah.
What up,
Right.
Jay Crit? We haven't seen Jay Crit in a while. Jay Crit must be on vacation today. But I think I love it. I like him I like people saying, F that, I'm gonna do what I want to do. He didn't shoot the gun though. He threw the grenade. And then he's gonna make them ban their grenade and then he's gonna think of something else.
Yeah. He said he is fine with it until someone has a problem with it. Was essentially inviting Adam Silver and whatever committee in the NBA front office that has to review this nonsense. It basically putting them on notice that he's going to do it until you show by way of, I guess, something punitive and punish him that indeed it's wrong. Here's my thing, man, and I'm taking the other road. I guess I am going to be the old toe the line guy,
Good.
but when you look at all the things that have happened over the last 2 years, and John Moran, I think, is doing a phenomenal job of playing the role of villain, but I'm not certain that he's being genuine in describing how he got there. Yes, the NBA is over policing what John Moran is doing because John Moran himself, on not one but multiple live videos, had an actual weapon in a live video.
There you go, pulling out facts again. Let me ask you for
So
all
we
those facts.
we got here because of his stupidity. We remain here because of his stupidity. And I would argue that if he wants to keep it rebellious, keeping it rebellious is going to put him in a position such that he's going to throw away. He's already thrown away millions, several millions. And while it doesn't impact the quality of his life, being able to, his lifestyle is not going to change based on the millions that he's lost. But, and this is where maybe I'm on my soapbox, there are people that are going to be related to John Morant that could eat off of what God has blessed him with in terms of his athleticism for their entire lives. It could be generational wealth that might not happen because John Morant has decided he gonna just be knee deep in stupidity. Now I think this is preventable. So I don't know. I'm just like I don't, bro. Really, you gonna throw unless you are Andre 3000 or Big Boy and you were performing bombs over Baghdad. What place in all of the great good of basketball just throwing a grenade? What place does it have in playing basketball? It's not like the 3-point. First of all, he was I think 5 for 13 that night. So it ain't like he's shooting the stripes off the damn ball. You so focused on the damn celebration, the celly as they call them in this generation, that you can't focus on increasing the percentage in which you take the 3-point shot. I just think that he's distracted and his distractions are self-induced. I think, yes, the NBA is going too far by policing this, but we're here because of Ja Morant, not because of Adam Silver, not because of us as a fan base. We are here
Not a
in
game.
this place
Right.
because of Ja Morant. That's how we got here. Is live videos of him shooting up the club and trying to be
Those are
22.
stupid. So to me, if he never does that again, I guess what he's saying is, all right, this is what I did, right, wrong, or indifferent. He made the mistake more than once, okay? But now you guys are trying to tell me what I can't do during the game. And he's just like, at some point, it's like, even the things that he did where they were stupid, none of them were illegal, right?
None were illegal.
None were illegal. It was
immoral.
Just immoral, bad
Maybe.
imagery, whatever you want to say. Ungrateful Negro, whatever you want to call him, which is probably what they're thinking.
Damn, you went that far. I didn't go that
Yeah,
far.
that's what it is. I mean, really, that's what it is. If you really think about it, I hate to even go there because I'm the one that tries to avoid going there, but I am going to go there. It's so many people showing hunting videos and different guns and different things. John doesn't have any bodies on him. He hasn't shot anybody. So it's dumb and irresponsible to do it. But it's also dumb and irresponsible for the dude to sit there on top of his trunk with the shotgun like this, holding different. That's stupid too. But you're referring to something that's going to be, in your mind, culturally acceptable for them to do it. But people do gun pictures all the time. Black people do gun pictures that aren't illegal. It's very bad. It's ghetto. It's hood, whatever. If white people do gun pictures that look like they're hunting, the whole family could do it. You could give the 5-year-old a shotgun. And this is cute. It's beautiful. It's American. So he's saying, fuck that, man. I want to play a basketball game and I want to do my symbols. Again, people were doing the hunting quill thing in football. They made it illegal and now they made it unillegal, right? To do the quivers, doing the bow and arrow, because that's culturally different. So he's just like, yeah, I'm just going to drive y'all fucking crazy, man. I'm playing the game. But, oh, by the way, we're 2 games away from being in third place in the playoff race. So my team's still doing well. So you can be mad all you want. I just don't care. So
but
be
we're
mad.
talking. They are 2 games out, and they went from very, very bad last year with John Morant dealing with all his issues that are related similarly to what we're talking about now, to being in the hunt, definitely going to make the playoffs, being a legit contender in some people's opinion. And we're talking about grenades. That's where I'm like, well, bro, I'd rather talk about basketball with you. I can't appreciate the basketball because I'm too busy talking about the ridiculousness outside of basketball on the periphery. And while I do believe, yeah, you're right, there might be some racial or cultural connotations to why we're judging John Morant in his live video or his imaginary shoot 'em up versus hunting videos with the whole family showing a moose head. There might be something there. But we would be really disingenuous to pretend like we don't know it exists. And so the fact that it exists and getting to the core of it while it exists in this country, John Morant's not going to solve that. But John Morant is playing, and I don't think he needs to. That's not on his watch. His job, his contract doesn't say anything about solving it. But the fact that we're here is because of John Morant, right? And that's the part where I think he's disconnecting his role in this. And as someone that coaches kids, this is where I'm probably a little more on the old man thing, is that John Morant is just setting up another ridiculous celly for some 10-year-old who can't separate, right, the icon that he sees in John Morant from himself. So now they're going to go try to emulate what they see with Ja Morant. And that's where the responsibility towards the younger generation of basketball players are looking up to Ja Morant, and the obligation to the generational wealth that, whether he wants to admit it or not, even 75,000 put into an interest-bearing account and not touched for 20 years is going to create a windfall for somebody in those 20 years. It's going to be a sizable amount of money. So I think that those
So
two things, and I
you
sound
know,
like an
I
old
can
man
tell
when
where
I'm
you're
saying
going
it.
with this. I'm gonna tell you. You know who the true victim is here? 75 grand. The strippers in Memphis. That's the true victim here,
Them
and
strippers.
that bothers you
It
because there's
does.
a
It messes up a whole sub-economy.
somewhere in Memphis. There's a woman trying to pay herself through school that could
Yep.
have got that 75 grand, and now Ja got to take 2 weekends off.
Messing
And
up
that's
economies, man. He's
huh?
messing up economies.
You messing
I'll
shit
give
up,
you
man.
last word on it,
Just
man.
say who you mad. I'm just saying. Do you think it's worse than somebody from 30 feet away to be like, boom, got you, or when somebody dunks on you or does something and or they're in the paint and they get all in your face and puts a thing like you're too little? Which is worse to you? Which bothers you more?
I think the latter, someone that after they dunk on you says you're too little, in your face, like a fire breathing dragon, is more
Mhm.
emasculating.
Yeah.
But I think the former, showing an imaginary gun, is indeed, it has been defined as out of bounds by the NBA.
So
And
here's
because it's a private company, they get to decide what's inbounds and out
understood.
of
And he
bounds.
didn't do it. Now he's throwing grenades because that hasn't been done. He's just making sure he's just showing stupidity. All right. Well, grenades could kill way more people than I like. Okay, you shoot a big shot and you like, boom, I'm a sniper, right? We all respect the military. We're supposed to be America first and all that kind of stuff. So let's celebrate the snipers. All right, you don't like that? Cool. I'm dropping bombs. I'm doing whatever you want to do, dog. Whatever you want, man. I'm
I
here.
got this.
But you know
So he's
what? We're
not.
the seventh seed, 47 and 33, and we're only talking about. I didn't know they were seventh seed until he started through the
He's
draft.
probably. They got the biggest turnaround probably in the NBA from last
Yeah,
year.
so
Very turnaround.
throw the grenades, drop nukes on their ass. I want to figure out how to do something with the. Who cares?
I'll tell you this. To me, he's not Ja Morant anymore. He's Da Morant. DAH.
Come
Dumb
on,
as hell.
Scott Bibb.
Dumb as hell. Why are we talking about this, Ja Morant?
You probably don't.
Why?
You probably get worked up on the fact that Tupac went to Juilliard, huh? You don't like that either, huh? He's a wannabe thug too, but Tupac was one of the greatest. Ja Morant is fake, like all the rappers out there. Whatever, it's a persona.
Rick Ross was
Rick
a
Ross was a
corrections
prison
officer,
guard. He was a narc. Come on,
right?
man. Rick Ross didn't sell no drugs. Who cares? Music's fantastic.
His
Ja
name
Morant
ain't
can
even
dunk
Rick
on you.
Ross. His name not even Rick Ross. But guess what? They have that is
Nah,
different from what Ja Morant has.
hmm.
They're in a world where the only policing happens by the public. Ja Morant's in a world where the NBA does the policing. And so the public has their own criteria, but the NBA indeed has an infraction policy. They can hand out punishment, which they have done, and they ultimately could rein him back in. I just don't think it's worth it. That's
That's
just me.
cool. As long as you don't have to pay. As long as you don't start stripping in Memphis and getting shorted on your bread, it's just whatever. Here's the thing: is I
Messing
was
up my
very
grade.
critical of John Morant. So for those of you guys who already called me a hypocrite, I was very critical of him last year when he was making the videos or when all that went down, and I thought it was stupid and immature or whatever. I think that the gestures that he's doing during the game are silly, no big deal. Who cares? That's how I look at it. It's like if I don't like you, I don't like in your face talking crap. You know what I mean? Making things turn into like I'm really punking you.
Yep,
But if you
yep.
want to make a gesture from somebody from 30 feet away, that doesn't bother me. But that's just my preference.
Shush.
Nobody asked me except you. So
Well, I gave you last word on it, so I'll take that. It leads us to another interesting sports story for this week. Because keeping it rebellious this week, I had a very good time leading up to the championship games of March Madness. But what I realized is it was very different when you compare the men's and the women. You had the women's game at 3 p.m. on Sunday. The women, we know, the last 2 years have been finally able to wear the moniker March Madness for their tournament. The women throughout the season had some of the most lopsided wins, even with some of the top teams. They were lopsided. And then for the championship, the same thing happened. South Carolina got the brakes beat off them by UConn.
Whooped.
They got whooped. And it's 3:00 on Sunday. You compare or contrast that to the men's game, which had so many competitive games. Although it was all number one seeds, first time that has happened in a long, long time, since I think 2008, were all one seeds, all Final Four teams were one seeds. But even within that group, it was very competitive to the finish line. We didn't look at the ratings. I'll make sure next week we have the ratings of both games. But I would argue, and maybe this is just trying to keep it rebellious, if the women's side of college basketball doesn't figure out how to create more parity and competition, the fan interest in women's college basketball, it cannot grow. You need competition in order to breed interest. The men's game on Monday, while anybody who was rooting for Houston has a really sick stomach because they had the game won until they didn't. It ended with a last second shot, or the outcome of the game was undetermined with seconds left to go in the game. It intrigues you. It brings you in. You watch it. There's tweets about it. There's engagement about it. People are texting you, "Hey, you watching this game?" There's this thing around March Madness when there's competition.
Mm-hmm.
The women's game isn't really seeing that. The best of the best, and everybody else, it ain't till the Sweet 16 that you even see competitive games. And this year, all the way through the finish line, there were one-sided games. And keeping it rebellious, it ain't Mars versus Venus. You got Title IX and all of that, and I think the women's games come a very long way, and I love watching it. But this year, I felt like it was a womp-womp because there wasn't enough parity, and there are a lot of one-sided games. And it's going to be a problem that the women's game has to overcome to continue to build the interest in the fan base on the women's side. What say you?
Okay, so quick research real quick. I look at the men's the women's matchup as historic. Goliath versus Goliath, story program versus story program, story coaches versus story coaches.
Yep.
Average viewership.
Dino Ariena versus Don Staley.
Don Staley.
Over the last 15 years, it's almost even probably between those two teams.
Between those two, right? And so
winning championships, right?
Women. So the average viewership was 8.5 million viewers. 9.8 is the peak. This is the third most watched women's game in history, trailing only 24 and 23 finals, right? The men's matchup was probably as non-traditional, non-give a shit.
Houston has never won a championship.
Yeah.
They still have never won.
Then they win with
no.
Fire Slam Jamma? They didn't win?
No, I think that's the NC State one, right? That's the Jimmy Valvano upset.
No. Oh, is that who they beat? Anyway, but how about how they did Hakeem? We can talk about that later, but they did Hakeem dirty. They wouldn't let him in the celebration talking about they didn't know who he was. How many 7-footers sitting courtside? It's probably somebody, man. Just let him back. Man, look, I let him in. When the boss said, "Why'd you let him through?" Man, he was 7 foot. He looked like he did something, but they wouldn't let him go with the thing, man. That was trifling. But anyway, the average viewership for the men's was 18.1. The peak viewership was 21 viewers. This is the most watched men's title game since 2019, making a 22% increase from the previous year. The thing about that's so interesting is I was like, man, they had to be so mad that it wasn't Duke in there because Florida Houston is Florida's got some championships under their belt, but they're definitely a football school, right? Houston, who cares, right? And they still was the third most watched title game since 2019. Well, that's not that sweet, though, if you think about it. Hold on. This was the most watched men's title game since 2019. That's not a real good stat. If you think about it, it's kind of a play on words. It's
Well,
only been,
it is a good stat because you're looking at the technology too. People are dropping off and not watching it as much. They're
but
finding
think about the way, after I read that 3 times, this is the third most watched title game since 2019. So there's only been 6 title games, and y'all were third. It's trash. That's like average. You know what I'm saying? Like
very average,
you were
very
the
middle of
third
the
of
road,
6. That's not
very middle of the
sweet.
road. I
But
didn't look at the viewership. So if you're
I'm
reading
looking at
into
it now,
sports,
but when I read it, it was like, oh man, it was a really wait, hold on a second. Y'all the third best since 2019. Who picked an arbitrary number like 2019 and said, we're going to stop there and say you're the third? Sound like it's something great? Average. But still, what I'm saying is a historic matchup, juggernaut versus juggernaut, turned out to be a blowout. But until it was a blowout, the best they had was 9.8. So basically half of
you
what the
couldn't
men
even
can do.
name. You probably couldn't even name. Maybe you could because he's been around for a while. But I was going to say you probably can't even name the 2 head coaches on the men's side, right? Whereas in the women's side, you have 2 absolute first ballot Hall of Fame
Statue
coaches,
people. Statue people.
statue coaches. You've got one of the most highly decorated players of all time in women's basketball with
Yeah.
Paige Beckers,
Mm-hmm.
and yet it just seemed it fell short. So I don't know. I'll give you and look, we're talking about how the women's game and the high profile players have set up early success in the WNBA. Uh, I'll give you last word in terms of
You mentioned time slot, which is interesting because I wanted to watch the women's game more than I
yep,
wanted to watch the men's game, and I watched the men's game and didn't watch the women's game because I don't know with time slot I just got
3
caught
p.m.
up.
on a Sunday is tough.
It's a tough game, yeah. So I don't even know what I did, but I couldn't watch it because of whatever the heck I was doing. And I wanted to watch that game. Like I was more interested in watching that game than the men's. But then I watched the men's and didn't watch the women's. You know what I mean? So time slot could have had something to do with it. But I will say they've done a better job. I watched more women's basketball games in this playoffs than ever before. I felt like it was easier to watch. In comparison, they've got the XFL and whatever the UFL football leagues, and I feel like the reason why I don't watch them is because they don't hardly talk about them. I would love to watch some football right now, but it's just they make it so hard, and I'll compare that to the women.
Vegas is going to do the job for marketing in that league because those who really are hell bent on their
Yeah.
parlays are going to get, I think, the viewership up. Vegas is what's going to keep that league
But
alive because
the problem I have
people
with
want
it
to
is
bet.
I would watch. Have you watched it? It's good football. It doesn't remind you of the other fledgling leagues of the past. It looks like good football. They're
It is
playing
good
well,
football. Yeah.
and I would watch. I just don't feel like I'm made aware. Like I feel like every once in a while I catch a commercial for it, but then it just seems like they're not trying hard enough. Same with the women's game. I don't love the women's game the way I love the men's game, but I do. I will watch it when it comes on. I don't instantly just change the channel. I'll watch it if it seems like a decent little game because they're doing more to make me see it. So I kind of didn't buy that before, and I see that like you can make people if you have a good product, which there's a lot of great products in the world, be them programming or just products on the shelf. That if you tried it, you would love it. If someone's got to get you to try it, they got to make it easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
so I
I
think
agree with Scott Bibb that the women's basketball is way more exciting now if you compare it to 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's
absolutely.
way more exciting now. I'll give you that.
But
But
that's marketing helping you too, because you know who Paige Beckers is, you know who Juju is, you know who all these people are. They're really building up their stars and they're putting them out there. And then with the social media aspect of some of the times you get to promote it, promotion. You start to find out, what's the best person in the WNBA from the Aces, a J,
from the Aces, Asia Wilson,
yeah. I don't, honestly, I'll be honest, I don't know where she went to college.
she went to South Carolina.
Okay, so that's my point is like the reason why I don't know is not my fault. The reason why I don't know is because they didn't beat it. You know what I'm saying? I've been a sports fan. I'm less a sports fan today than I was before. If anything, it's not my fault because they weren't beating her down my chest, showing me what she was doing and putting her highlights and everything. You know what I mean? To
Fair.
make me really respect it. I know who she is now in the WNBA. I didn't know who she was.
Brainwash me. Don't
Brainwash
play
me.
around with this.
Paige Beckers, I know her little braid thing. I know the Becker hairstyle. You know what I mean? Like the marketing and the way that they're doing it, and gets the NIL money. They're realizing that these women actually have marketability. They actually care now. So we'll see. But shout out to all the champions out there.
Shout out to it, man. And in this episode of Keeping It Rebellious, I agree with you, man. You made some great points there. I think that when you have a generational talent like Asia Wilson, because anytime you have a generational talent on the men's side, a la Cooper Flag, I don't care who you are. If you understand English, and I would dare to say, even if it ain't your first language, if you understand any communication, you know who Cooper Flag is.
Him can hoop though.
He can hoop. Now I'm not taking nothing away from him. Notice that I said if you have a generational talent, I'm putting him in generational talent category. He can play. But so is Asia Wilson. She's generational and she's generational talent category. Yeah. And you just admitted, like, I mean, I know her, but you've got to do better. And I don't know who the they is in this case, because you've got the respective schools, right? South Carolina for Asia Wilson versus Duke when it comes to Cooper Flag, or they being the men's March Madness tournament versus the women's March Madness tournament, or the they being, just men's basketball enthusiasts versus women's basketball enthusiasts, the they being the networks. I don't know who the they is, but they're both generational talents, Cooper Flag and Asia Wilson. One of them is a household name. One of them's not. And the more that we have lopsided games, at the end of the game, we look at the score, at one point, South Carolina was down almost 30 points. People are going to turn the TV. And when I look at the viewership numbers, I am going to look at the metrics and the data when it comes to the peak and how long people stayed, not just the raw numbers. Because that's the story that I'm trying to get across, is that the more we have these lopsided games, the more people are going to turn off the TV. The more people turn off the TV, the more you have the reality that people don't know who someone is like Asia Wilson.
Hold on, let's not do that. Because the problem with sports is our memory's short. Let's go women's. Because I don't think it was a bad game last year.
No. I said this year.
But that's the thing that I don't like. So I have the same problem when we talk about, and the reason why I interrupted you is because we talk about the same shit in the college football playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, this team got blown out. They shouldn't be in the playoffs again. People just have no fucking memory about like what happens all the time. But I think that the championship games have been good, and I think this was just a bad one. This shouldn't have been a bad one. It's not like South Carolina.
The championship games have been good. Here's where, and I'll back up, and that might have been that's on me for not making the point a little clear. Is that even in seasons where the championship game is good on the women's side, they normally don't become competitive until the Sweet 16. You almost never find a 1 versus 16 on the women's side that's even somewhat competitive. These are 50-point spreads, bro. 50-point spreads. How do you get people to be engaged for the championship game? There's a buildup. You got a few
good games since 2021. I don't know. Sometimes it's a good game, and the scores are lopsided.
Lopsided.
Yeah, 82-59. South Carolina over whatever. Iowa was 87-75. I think that's kind of a little deceptive. I think that was a little bit of the foul free throw game at the end. I thought that was a decent game. LSU versus Iowa.
And again, you're looking at the championship games. I'm telling you, if you look at the rounds, there almost are zero competitive games until Sweet 16. You cannot build a real fan base. You cannot build momentum. You cannot get people engaged. You cannot guarantee that your championship is going to be must-see TV when the rounds are that one-sided.
Yeah,
there's got to be more parity in college basketball for women. And I guess that means more teams have to step up and spend. We do have on the men's side a phenomenon where the mid-majors are losing out because as soon as you have a player, that shows any prowess, right? Any prowess whatsoever, somebody's going to come in and swoop them up. And we've talked about it. But the women aren't even, like, they don't have the same problem what they're in terms of the mid majors, because the mid majors haven't been competitive at all. And until the mid majors or some of the other schools that are outside of the perennial power programs, UConn, um, South Carolina, Notre Dame, until you find success outside of that, I think we're going to struggle to build a real fan base that is a, generational fan base too, that passes on the legacy of watching women's March Madness on a year by year basis. Until you build that, you've got a product that's really struggling to get some buy-in. And that's where I think I am with the women's game. I'll give you the last word on it.
You know, I'm gonna say take a step back and say the net positive is we are going in the right direction. We have stars. We give a shit. A lot of that's gonna go towards what's her face? I just forgot her name. Iowa lady.
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark. You got to give her a lot of credit to it. But I will also give credit to just the marketers and trying to make things a little bit better for the women. It's got a ways to go. It's never going to be equal. I don't think that shouldn't even be the goal, because it's just unrealistic. But I just think that, it's getting better. It's way better than it used to be. People are talking about these ladies that play basketball. They're becoming celebrities. They weren't really celebrities before. I think they should be proud of the progress they made, and we shouldn't trip about some of the stuff there. It'll get better. There'll be more parity as young women get to see. It's pretty soon from now. Somebody's going to show you a picture of Caitlin Clark signing an autograph for a young little girl, and that girl's going to be a monster, and she's going to say, "Yeah, I was so." I have a niece. None of my nieces and nephews are overly sports people, But on my wife's side are overly sports people. But like one of my nieces just loves Caitlin Clark and wants to be a part of this and is trying to play basketball. I don't know if she's ever going to have a career that's collegiate or whatever, but her motivation is that a lot of girls didn't really have that kind of role. The reason why a lot of girls didn't play sports is there wasn't that many role models to say, I want to be like that person. That what's going to make me sit in the gym and shoot 1,000 shots is because I want to be like this person one day. And I think we're doing not good enough. We're doing a better job now of promoting the women to the point where they can become somebody's role model. You can inspire a young girl. And that's how you get to a point where we make change and we make difference.
I will agree with you. I guess the level of intensity in which we show the competitiveness, in which we highlight some of these stars outside of just, like you said, Caitlin Clark is going to be it's going to be the thing that dictates exactly how far we can take this game. Right. And so, but you did set up perfectly for this segue because you talked about Caitlin Clark. And a part of my concern for the women's March Madness game and women's college basketball is because it connects so directly to the success of the WNBA. Mm-hmm. Because I think that progress has been slow when it comes to really having an enthusiastic, engaged fan base for women's college basketball, based on what we see in the product. Women on the court are doing things that are just like next level athleticism, next level in terms of basketball IQ. The game, I think, has moved a lot faster than the fans. And because the WNBA has largely depended upon the profile that the women on the collegiate level create for themselves, right? You go way back to Lisa Leslie, and there's so many different names you can call out and say it was this mythical character that we fell in love with in college that then created the momentum for WNBA following. Mm-hmm. And the same is true here. The WNBA, I think, has done a good job of trying to, add marketing. They added a chief marketing officer. They've done a phenomenal job of trying to become independent and not being dependent upon the resources that the NBA will or will not provide. I think that they've done a masterful job now taking what is Caitlyn versus Angel Reese and trying to seize off of that. They announced, the WNBA being they announced that the rivalry week that the NBA has done for the last several years, the WNBA is going to do that this year in August. And to no surprise, one of those games is going to be the Chicago Sky featuring Angel Reese versus the Indiana Fever featuring Caitlin Clark. Do you think we have our Magic Johnson, Larry Bird equivalent in the WNBA? And what do you think is going to do for the WNBA's fan base going forward as they continue to try to seize off the rebellion that is that dichotomy?
I kind of wish that there was a better, in this scenario analogy, I wish there was a better Magic Johnson. I just don't think that I don't feel like the battle is the same because Larry Bird and Magic were both like such dynamic scorers and playmakers and do whatever. And I think Caitlin Clark is a dynamic playmaker, a dynamic scorer. And I just don't think Angel Reese is. I think she's Dennis Rodman that eventually scores a basket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it makes it tough because they're not going to really go head. They're not going to ever go head to head. They're never going to go score for score down and whatever. I wish she was a shooter. You know what I mean? I wish she was more of a shooter.
Or Caitlin was a power forward.
Yeah. It's just weird with the putback girl versus a sniper. It just, you know what I mean? Like,
we seem to like snipers a little bit more.
Yeah, it's like Steph Curry versus I don't know. I'm trying to think who she Perkins.
Kendrick Perkins.
Kendrick Perkins. That's really who she is. She's Kendrick Perkins.
Don't do that. She's not Kendrick
Perkins.
You went too far.
But like he dogged himself the other day. I wanted to piss on myself. He was just like, it's not like he's playing like they put me in there. Like he basically dogged himself. Like
my man Mustafa, what's up, man? He does a lot of local media and covers the game, streams it, does the broadcasting for a lot of the high school games or high school sports across the sports, not just basketball. But he makes a good point that the girls' game is growing at high school level as well. Some of the biggest games for the ladies. I do think that the interest is there. It's there. It's what we as a collective, we being whether it be local media like my man Mustafa, we as a group of fans in terms of what games we go to and are we willing to buy the tickets to that game? We in terms of how we talk about it on social media after the game. We in terms of as sports parents, how we build a bridge between high school and college. We in terms of as the sports programs, how we're investing in men's basketball versus women's basketball. How do those compare? We the entire, I think, spectrum of stakeholders must do better.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We have to do better, and we've got to like sort of put our money where our mouth is, if you will. And that's where I'm going with the March Madness on the college side and the women's programs, but how that then tees us up to WNBA. I think the WNBA is putting its money where its mouth is, creating this rivalry, creating some marketing around it. And I'm excited for it, man. Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, step to the front of the church. Come to the front of the congregation. No pressure, but I do believe that the success of this WNBA season, I do believe that the success of professional women's basketball is largely hinged upon this moment and what the WNBA does with this moment and what those two megastars, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, do with this moment. So it should be interesting, man. This is big time. I'm rooting for the WNBA. I'm rooting. Let's do it. Why not? I'll give you last word on it before we turn to some NBA stuff.
I just say, hey, don't be hard on the us. Because the progress has definitely been made, and they finally have their Tiger Woods, right? They finally have their person that's going to draw people to the sport. And I think they could have done a little bit of better job with them with the Olympic thing. I think they missed a huge opportunity to make this into some global situation. They didn't. Whatever. They felt like they can go to bed thinking that they were more true to the game by not putting her there. Although I still argue she was one of the best in the game at the WNBA level by the end of the season. But I think the progress is there. I think, and it shouldn't be so many negative comments about where we're not. Let's talk about where we were. And it's getting there, and the momentum is there. I said high school's getting there. It's just going to take a while. It takes a couple of generations to really see it happening, and it's definitely moving in the right direction. Anyone can look at that. It's not where it's supposed to be, but it's moving in the right direction. You can't force. It's entertainment, so you can't force it. You can't force me to be entertained.
Yeah,
If this is
I agree
work or
with you,
this
but
was corporate America or whatever, it's whatever. But entertainment, you can't force it. All you can do is promote it.
I agree with you, but, and here's the big but, and how dare I not say it on this episode, because we keeping it rebellious. We're keeping it rebellious. I think misogyny is just, it's real, man. It's real. People will tell you any reason politically why they did not vote for Hillary Clinton, why they did not vote for Kamala Harris. What they will not be willing to say is, I did not want to vote for her. The her pronoun is what prevented people from casting that vote in a lot of cases. And I would say the same thing is true here, right? It's because we are dealing with misogyny, right? People got on board quickly with pickleball. Pickleball became the recreation sport of the country within a blink of an eye. They're closing football fields. They are repurposing space in communities. They are changing the landscape of recreation departments because pickleball took off in this country. Meanwhile, you got people doing amazing things on that basketball court, and we're slow to change when it comes to women's basketball. What the hell? That's misogyny.
Entertainment is about what just naturally likes what you like. If you went outside right now and you're downtown, you see two dudes fighting, would you watch?
Just two random dudes fighting?
On the street, would you watch?
Probably. Yes.
Two chicks fighting.
Absolutely.
Would you watch? You would?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know.
I like girl fights.
So that's your kink, right? So that's your kink. You can't force me to. I don't want to see two chicks.
You don't want to see two girls fight. You know,
I don't want to see a woman in the NBA basketball. I don't want to see the day where women are coming down the lane dunking on another woman. I don't want to see that.
Just a little too masculine for you.
It's too masculine for me. I don't like that.
You're the problem.
If that's misogynistic, I'm sorry, women. I hold you in higher regard than that. I don't mind if somebody dunks on another dude and sends him through the back of the rafters and he has to be carried out. I'm gonna be like, woo, woo. I don't want to see that happen to a young lady. There's no interest in that. That's why I like the fact that Caitlin Clark is shooting jumpers, because that's impressive. I like to see that shit. Shoot a jumper, cross them up, throw a nice pass. That's fantastic. We can do that. But dunking on somebody or pinning somebody's shit on the backboard, that's dude stuff. I don't want to see that. You can't force me to do that. So if that makes me a misogynist, so be it. I look at men and women different. So I'm just thinking some people, they like their sports different. It's entertainment. You can't force someone to be entertainment. You can't say it's bad. Like, it's not the same as not wanting to see a woman be the leader of the free world. That's not the same, because a woman is capable of being the woman of the free world, and your personal preference.
It was hyperbole. I extended myself a little bit, but I'm just making the point.
I'm just putting it out there because I know there's some political people listen to, and I want to make sure that they hear me speak loud and clear on that. But we're doing better. We're doing better.
I think that you captured all of it, man. We are the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. I do agree with you from a sports perspective. The game has advanced, but the business end of it is people are going to be entertained, sports, business, entertainment, by what they are entertained by, and they're going to put their dollars into that. I would just argue, if anyone were willing to listen, that you should put more money into that entertainment because it's some great basketball. I think fundamentally sound. I've been consistent with that. I'm not saying it just for this particular segment of our show. I've been consistent over the years saying I prefer my sons to watch women's basketball because it's far more sound. But damn it, I'm ready for the general population. I'm ready for the consumers to step up and have a little more sophisticated of a palate when it comes to what we are consuming. Because women basketball, I think, is a whole new level. And I'm holding basketball to a high regard, too. I'm putting pressure on. I said it with March Madness. These games got to be more competitive. I'm asking people to tune in. Ain't nobody watching a 30-point game, right? But I don't know. WNBA rivalry week. I think the WNBA has it right. I think putting marketing behind it is going to overcome some of the challenges that we talked about and the lack of household names. I am rooting for the WNBA. I love the fact that so many of these players come into the WNBA now, like Paige Beckers, the presumptive number one pick. I like it. What I will say is this: is because the presumptive number two pick, Olivia Miles from Notre Dame, said that she will not be entering the WNBA draft and also decided that she is going to transfer to TCU, who beat them in the Sweet 16. That combination of NIL and the money that they can make being far in excess. As a college student, you can make more money than you can make in the $78,000 you're going to make in a rookie contract in your first year of the WNBA. She's probably going to make at least 3-4 times that
Is Van
by
Smith gonna be back,
transferring.
or is she done?
Say again.
Van Slith, is she done, or is she gonna be back?
She's done. Yeah, she's done. Van Lith. Katie Van Lith. She's
Van
done.
Lith, my man.
So I think that now delays 1 year. I know it at least delays 1 year for someone like Olivia Miles for getting to the WNBA. So there's this really sweet spot here that you've got to understand the pipeline into the WNBA while really building the stardom of the college players, because those two entities, the women's basketball game collegiately and the WNBA, are so intertwined, more so than on the men's side, that I think you got to get it right. I'll give you last word. When you hear Olivia Miles, I'm not going into the WNBA and making a paltry 78 grand. Why? Who would do that? That's a pay cut. I'm going to stay in college, get more money through the NIL opportunities provided in college, and oh, by the way, I'm going to transfer and be like a Katie Van Lith, someone that takes advantage of the PR surrounding that move. What do you think when you hear about the I don't want to call it the Olivia Miles phenomenon, because there's so many other people that have done it, but it is indeed something that these collegiate players on the women's side have a decision to make. Do you go into WNBA or do you stay and make more money?
I think that it's going to be good for the whole. I mean, we're saying this year, one of my friends was watching and sent me a text as opposed to commenting. So those of you guys don't think I'm being rude because I look down on the phone. A lot of you guys are shy and don't want to put comments, but they text them to me, so I want to read them. And he's talking about how much the WNBA's lost money over the years. Well, this is the first year they're going to be profitable, right? Because they have a TV contract. So I think it's good for basketball because for whatever reason, these sponsors and people are endorsing these college athletes. The longer they can stay in, the longer they can build their name up, the longer they can build a following, the more it's going to carry over into the WNBA. Because Caitlin Clark is not she's still popular because she didn't have to stay at Iowa, but she took that Iowa popularity that she built in a fan base that's going to be behind you, selling out arenas and doing different things, and now it's in the WNBA. So I think these ladies staying longer in school and giving themselves to build it. So now this lady's got a Notre Dame fan base. She's about to go get a TCU fan base. So now she's going to, break some different barriers. People are going to talk about the fact she's transferred. It's going to draw attention. The fact that she was in the Final Four and she was this, that, and the other. She could have been the second pick in the draft. All of that popularity is going to swell up. Hopefully they won't lose the endorsements just because they're in the WNBA is my ultimate point. So they're prolonging it, but in the long run, we're getting better basketball during college because now you're getting more talented players staying in the college ranks. So I think it's a win-win-win when you go through it. She waits, and let's face it, the WNBA, most people get drafted don't even make the team because they don't have enough teams to go around. And these women, they're not aging out because there's not enough teams to spread the talent. So you might as well stay in school, get guaranteed money, and then go get drafted later.
Look, I'm putting the burden on all of us, but I think Paige Becker had a 40-piece one of the games leading up to the championship, right? Yet, I just think we got to do a better job, man, because Walter Clayton Jr., who transferred from Iona, right, a mid-major, and did a good job at his new school, Florida, and they secured the championship. But Walter Clayton Jr. should not be more of a household name than Paige Becker. I'm sorry. And I like Walter Clayton Jr. I think he did a phenomenal job.
I don't think
Paige Becker is another generational.
Do you think he's more popular than Paige Becker?
Say again.
I don't think he is.
I think more people talked about Walter Clayton Jr. And look, this is just my opinion, right? We can search that in terms of engagements, but I think more people talked about Walter Clayton Jr. within that 48-hour period of a WNBA, not WNBA, I'm sorry, a women's college basketball championship on Sunday, men's basketball championship on Monday. I think there was far more discussion of Walter Clayton Jr. And I think that's crazy considering what Paige Beckers did, overcoming her adversity and the injuries, what
I
she
totally agree.
did in the run up to the championship, the numbers that she put up, and what she has done for the game of women's basketball and will probably continue to do going into the WNBA versus Walter Clayton Jr., who just transferred and took advantage of the opportunity, but has a lot less impact on the fabric of the game. So I think absolutely it's tragic. It's my opinion. And that's why I say we. There's a lot of stakeholders there. There's a lot of stakeholders there. Jay Crit, you have a point. He says, you can't make people like what you like. It's about the entertainment. And I guess, what entertains you is subjective. Everyone has their own value proposition to entertainment. But I do think there's a responsibility on all of us, especially those of us that have a platform like the Ball Hog Sports Talk, to see that we might be biased because we are also susceptible to this domino effect of when the games are and what we're discussing after the games and what we're tweeting about and what responses we get for that engagement and what we discuss at the damn barbershop.
I will argue with you on this. 2 weeks ago, very few people knew who Walter Clayton Jr. was that were not super duper college basketball fans.
Right.
And everybody knew who Paige Beckers was. You can't find a sports person that if you say Paige Beckers isn't going to say, "Oh,
Not
that
2 weeks ago,
girl."
but before the season, because Florida's been they were a
And
number one seed.
I'm gonna put myself even further in the hole and say until this run, unless you are a diehard college basketball fan and you watch all the games, which I'm saying I'm not. I didn't watch any Florida games before the tournament. I didn't know who Walter Clayton Jr. was until the tournament started. I've been knowing who
He
Paige
was a
Beckers was.
finalist for the Naismith Award, so people knew him all
I
year.
don't care enough. That's the thing is I don't care enough, and I'm a sports guy. I just don't care enough about
Fair.
all those little things. But I knew Paige Beckers was since last year. She's more popular.
She.
I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT.
When you say more popular, I would
More
agree with
more of
you.
a household name.
Yeah, she's a higher Q score, but at the end of the day, Walter Clayton Jr. All of it too is timely, right? When are the discussions happening about Paige Becker versus Walter Clayton Jr. and what that's going to lead to for them going forward? I just think that Walter Clayton Jr., while he had a phenomenal season, pales in comparison to having a generational impact that Paige Beckers is going to have on the game of women's basketball. And that's no disrespect to Walter Clayton Jr. because most players do. I've given the generational tag to one player that was a finalist there. Janai Broom was also a finalist, and he's not a generational player. Only Cooper Flagg is. So that's a unique distinction. So I'm not saying that Walter Clayton Jr. is any less remarkable because he does not have a generational tag. What I'm saying is that the engagements and the discussion about Walter Clayton Jr. over that same 48-hour period, I mean, it's just, it probably again, I haven't done the research on it. My research is just based on my own Twitter feed. My research is on my own conversations in my own group chats. It just seems to be a lot more emphasis and enthusiasm about the men's side than the women's side. I just don't understand why.
All I'm saying is ChatGPT agrees with me. As of April 2025, Paige Becker is more of a household name than Walter Clayton Jr. He's been named
Higher
probably
Q score.
Hmm?
Let's not read chat GPT.
That's the internet. Where else are we gonna find the truth but the internet?
Granted, but then we're gonna take our own powers to think out of it. So, and I don't disagree with that. I say she's got a higher Q score. I would be more objective to do the research. Let's do the research. She's got a higher Q score, which means her brand is a lot more prominent than Walter Clayton Jr. That's not my argument. My argument is over that 48-hour period, the engagements that discussed and featured Walter Clayton Jr. trumped significantly those that discuss Paige Beckers. And they're both at the prime of their collegiate careers. They both are in championship games. They both, I think, were dominant in their performances, but there's a lot more discussion about Walter Clayton Jr. than there was about Paige Beckers. And I think that is sort of what I'm saying is the fuel that leads to the fire of why they're on divergent paths in terms of their overall celebrity once they get to the NBA versus WNBA. That's the only point I'm making is that we all play a role in that.
Okay, and my point is that's just a flashback. Do you know who Haley Welsh is?
Yes, Haley Welsh played for not NC State.
Let me stop you right there. Haley Welsh is the Hawk Tua girl, right?
I thought
And
you were talking about a basketball player.
My point is this: for about a week there, she was probably more popular than any athlete you want for the Hawk Tua girl, Haley Welsh. But we've already forgotten her name, and we're not going to forget his name. But all I'm saying is, you can't take a snapshot of the right after the championship and the leading up to it for a couple hot games before it, and the totality of someone's popularity. So the Hawk Tua girl was popular for a good month there, and she was a name that I probably would have said Haley Welsh during that phenomenon, and you would have said, "Oh, that's the Hawk Tua girl." You can't just take a blurb of when somebody gets really hot and say that they're more popular than somebody who's been Paige Becker been a name for 4 years.
Well, you can because I'm comparing two things that are absolutely parallels. There were two basketball players playing in championships that happened 24 hours apart.
Gotcha.
So I am comparing apples to apples. Hawk Tua, I don't. It's just not my. It's not my lane. It's not what I'm spending my time.
Don't act like okay. Don't try to go too far. You watch what you say.
I'm not spending my time on that. Me. I'm not spending my time outside of anything researching Hawk Tua. It's just not what I'm doing.
Just making a point. You knew who the
Point
hell
made.
was last year. All right, brother.
Let's move on. We're gonna go with men's basketball. And men's basketball simply since
NBA?
we did NBA, let's go to NBA. We did the W. And let's go to the one without the W. We talked about John Morant. We got to at least discuss Luka does Dallas. Goes back in what was a somewhat emotional tribute. He sheds tears. Mom sheds tears. And he then goes out and delivers a 40 ball against his former
45.
team.
45
to be exact. There were a lot of fire Nico chants in the stands.
That's so terrible when you think about that. You know what's the most uncomfortable I feel for? The person sitting next to him. Because what are you supposed to do?
Disappear for a little while. He's hiding from the camera.
He was in a box. They put the camera on him, which those people should be fired. But me and you are sitting in the stadium, and they're saying, "Fire, big flow." What are you supposed to do? You supposed to give me a back tap? You supposed to act like you don't understand what they're saying? I feel worse for you because what are you supposed to do? Could you go get a drink during that point? Can you eat a hot dog? Could you put popcorn kernels in your mouth? Or do you just have to sit there and hope it ends like I do?
Hey, with our friendship, I'm gonna do whatever I can to make you forget this moment. But
yeah, you can't do nothing. It's
does he ever come back from this? I mean, they are saying because the return games, this is the biggest return game and most enthusiasm for any return game was obviously LeBron James going back to Cleveland because the vitriol and the hate that was bestowed upon him.
He left. He didn't get kicked out. He left.
They received him. They received him a lot better than most, and he delivered. And I feel bad for Nico, man. Nico in trouble, and will be the rebel and the outcast in that community. Every time someone sees Luka go out and do what Luka does, God forbid if the Lakers mess around and win a championship with Luka, that man has to do something else. He's got to move.
Nico will be a gym teacher by next year. And he's going to go by
It was
Nicholas.
good to watch though, man. I like the fact that Luka got emotional. I
He
like the
did.
fact that his emotions didn't stop him from going out and delivering what was a beautiful, masterful performance against his former team. And you could tell we're getting closer to the playoffs, man, because the ha ha kiki buddy buddy. There was some handshakes before the game, and then everybody went into killer mode. So shout out to Luka, man. I think he did right by Dallas. Dallas did right by him. Everybody moves on. It was an amicable divorce, one that was prompted by whatever you want to call it, maybe some infidelity or somebody cheating on their taxes. Nico making the rounds and making calls behind his back. Luka, according to them, not being in shape and taking things serious. So whatever prompted the divorce, it seems like the respective divorce attorneys came to their senses and everybody has moved on and is amicable and everyone's going to be better off for having moved on.
And you're right, because Luka is better off because he was fat and out of shape, drinking a lot, supposedly having those issues, and then he seems to put those behind him. Which, when you get a new start, that kind of gives it to you. So it's almost like they did him a favor. Anthony Davis is doing what Anthony Davis does: balls out and then gets hurt. So it is what it is. But Lakers in 6.
Lakers in 6. There was a Friday reference. How you get fired on your day off? Mike Malone. It will no longer be the coach of the Denver Nuggets. He just won a championship 2 years ago. The team is still in the hunt. They have not done well over the last 10 games, but still in the mix. And Mike Malone gets fired. It seemed to really be a surprise to Jokic. Either that or he's a hell of an actor. Keeping it rebellious, do you think Denver did the right thing in moving on now with a contender? Has Mike Malone maximized what he could do with this group?
Who knows why they didn't like him? Someone made I heard on one of the sports shows, someone said they got rid of him because in case he won, then they would have to keep him. Did you hear what you just said? Did you hear what you just said?
He went off on his team recently too. He's had some choice words for his team, and kind of he took the gloves off a few times recently. I guess it ruffled a few feathers, but it didn't seem to ruffle Jokic's feathers, which is normally you look at if there's any acrimony between the star and the head coach, then it's a problem. But we haven't seen that, at least publicly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I don't think the Joker is really is really this media dude. You know what I mean? He does obligatory interviews. He did say though, he said, I was told there was no discussion. I knew a little bit before you guys, and I'm going to keep that conversation between us as to why they fired him. I respect for how he handled it. You know what I mean? It was professional, but at the end of the day, he kind of let you know, like, they didn't ask me what I thought. They told me what the deal was, and I'm not going to repeat it. So they know it. He knows it doesn't make sense. I mean, you guys are still, they're one game behind the 3rd seed, right? So they could easily be the 3rd, which makes them the 4th seed. It's not like that. I mean, that's great. The 4th seed is fantastic. You know what I mean? They'd be the 4th seed. They'd almost be the 4th seed in the East. It doesn't matter really which way. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
4 of the last 6 championship coaches are fired.
Which is crazy. You talked about the placement of these teams and how there's a very narrow disparity between the teams. 3 through 7 or 8 on the West. The Lakers lost a recent game against OKC. In the end of the game, Luka gets tossed for his second technical. Turns out that Luka was talking ish to a fan, and the ref thought he was talking to him, kicked him out of the game. The NBA has since rescinded that tech, but undeniable with Luka playing the way he was playing at that point, that losing Luka had an impact on the game. OKC wins it. It's razor thin in terms of the difference between these teams in the West. You see this inadvertent ejection, I guess. I don't know what we want to call it.
I never heard of them reversing the tech.
They never reverse a tech. Should the techs be reviewable? It was like, yeah, I was talking to him. I wasn't talking to you, but Did the ref make too much of himself? You look at that situation and you think what? Because the NBA does have to fix it and fix it fast. Because imagine that happens in a tightly contested NBA game, playoff game rather. It happened in an NBA game, but a playoff game, not one
This
that's
is a
leading to
playoff game, though. We're in
essentially our playoff games, right? You're right.
100%. I mean, to segue a little bit, the NBA has got to be super thrilled. Typically, we're going towards the end of the season when no one cares about the games. There's 2 games left in the season. Lakers are 49 wins at the 3rd seed, and the 8th seed has 47 wins. So the Lakers could drop all the way to the 8th seed from the 3rd seed and vice versa in 2 games left. The NBA could not script it better than that. This is playoff basketball.
Yeah.
Every game is a big deal. Into the last game, you have 6 teams that are still involved. I don't know in the East. It's not as close. No. So the Knicks are in 50 wins with in the 3rd seed, and then the 6th seed is 64. So there's not as much of a race in the East, but there is some movement that can happen. But to think of all these people that are in the East that can shuffle everything. And it also kind of gets you to say that the seeding doesn't matter as much when you really look at it. It's other than home court advantage, which is obviously a big deal. I mean, is a 49 team win team better than a 47 team win? Really? No. So anywhere from 3 to 8, you got the same team.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great race to finish out the season. Lakers got the Rockets tonight, then they got Portland. I hope they can win both. But to your point, if they would have beat, because they had just beaten the hell out of OKC.
Yeah.
A couple games before, 2 nights before, they beat the shit out of them. And now for them to get kicked out and lose, if they win that game, that's huge.
Yeah. It was a huge game for the seedings, which right now, like you said, the currency is precious. Those wins separating the respective seeds. So it was interesting to watch, man.
Do the Rockets throw a game tonight as a 2nd seed, knowing that they don't want to see the Lakers? I mean, because they can pick their battles. They can say, all right, I'm not playing anybody because they have the 2nd seed locked up at 52 wins. And it's like, okay, the 7th seed is either going to be, I guess it's a playing game. Wow. You could be the Lakers should go from 3rd seed to playing game if they lose 2 in a row.
Yep.
So
the NBA, like you said, NBA action is fantastic, man. It's been a great season, especially in the Western Conference. The presumptive favorite is probably going to come from the West. I mean, maybe you say because Cleveland's doing what they're doing in the East, the Celtics are doing what they're doing in the East. But if I had to bet, I think I'm taking the champion coming from the West. It's just I don't know who I'd pick.
I think this is great for the NBA. The regular season stuff has been down, but these playoffs are going to be ridiculous because you got the cream of the crop, and you literally there's 7 or 8 teams that can win this thing. Literally.
Good stuff, man. I'll be dialed in, and hopefully you guys will be too. Let's go home with 2 quick topics, man. I wanted to make sure we at least discussed it. NFL, they got this thing called the draft coming up. But prior to, a lot of the teams are making offseason acquisitions to fill positions of need. One of those teams is the Cleveland Browns, baby. We picked back up Joe Flacco on a 1-year deal. This is where it starts. This is where our franchise takes the momentum and really goes to the next generation. We are going to become a perennial, deep in the playoff team. And it starts with a Joe Flacco reacquisition. You heard it here first. Aflac, Joe Flacco is how we going to get this thing done. He's the last quarterback that took us to the playoffs too, man. So we back, baby. We back. I'm probably the only human being on the planet that is that excited about Joe Flacco. But when your quarterback room has been that porous for that long, you'll take any encouraging signs that you can. Let's go, Flacco. We'll see what the Browns do in the draft. It's been reported that they are really interested in Travis Hunter. This draft thing is getting interesting as we watch the discussions leading up to the draft. We'll do more next week because we still got 2 weeks before draft week. It'll start 2 weeks from yesterday. It was when the first round will begin. So we'll get more into it. The other NFL news that I had to get to was Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond, receiver for Texas, transferred to Texas last year. Told everybody he was going to beat the 40 record in the NFL Combine. He did not. He ran a respectable 4.3, but he did not break the record. Isaiah Bond had to surrender himself to an arrest warrant. He was accused of sexual assault. So he did turn himself in Texas, in Frisco, Texas. And so he said all the right things, that he is innocent of this. And if there was a sexual assault, we sympathize with the victim. If there was not a sexual assault, we hope that he is able to exonerate himself and clear his name. But I just think this reoccurring theme that sexual assault is being weaponized in one way or another and impacting lives, it's just, we're going to do a whole segment on that, right? I talked about and I'm pointing at you now, my amazing co-host, Big Flow Show. I pointed out, the misogyny in some of the coverage. But the truth of the matter is, when it comes to this sexual assault and being hurled out and how it's impacting young people's lives, there's a domestic violence accusation that was hurled against Tyreek Hill. Mother-in-law made a call and there was domestic violence. The wife did not file charges and said that the bruise on her was an accident. There's a lot there. The Mars and Venus aspects of this are going to be what they're going to be, but I think that when there are false accusations, when someone's name is being jeopardized, their freedoms, obviously you don't want someone going to jail for a crime they didn't commit, but even when they don't go to jail, like Isaiah Bond, I don't know what the details are, so I'm not going to pretend. I'm gonna make it less about this case, more about this reoccurring thing that happens simultaneously around a life-changing event like the NFL draft. He was projected to go second round. Just being involved in this might cost him his dream. And I guess, keeping it rebellious, I'll just say, like, there's got to be some recourse for the false accusers that are doing so because of motivations that we won't know. But we cannot deny the impact when someone's name is involved in something as unacceptable as sexual assault.
It's a touchy subject in many ways. One thing that's just tough is, they were saying before there was a woman that came forward and said that she made up a rape charge that she had, and the guy had been in jail. He'd missed his college career. And they're like, oh, there should be a punishment for that. I'm like, well, if there's a punishment for that, she never would have came forward and said she made it up, which got the dude out. Doesn't make it right, but you put yourself in a situation that does that. There's a lot of women who get sexually assaulted that don't report.
Facts.
Now, if you're telling me that you could accuse a rich person of rape and he could prove his lawyer is better than yours, and when he gets off, he could punish you further after raping you and get you prosecuted, that's tough. So the hard part is how could you possibly, because I do believe this to be true. There's a lot of women out there who feel that they were raped, and the same man who was accused of rapes feels like it was consensual or doesn't feel like he raped the person.
Oh, there's a lot of gray area of not understanding. There's a great video out there for young athletes, and I encourage all dads, coaches, moms, and coaches, anybody, parents, adults, people that have influence over young athletes especially, to get them to review that video. But it talks about how consent is on a minute-by-minute basis. And so
it's trash.
It's trash. It's not if you understand it. It's trash if you're playing by rules that don't exist anymore. And this video is about basically in 2025, I think it was done last year, 2024. how the concept of consent is on a minute by minute basis. And yes, at 12:28, if it becomes no at 12:29, the no trumps the yes at 12:28. You can't read anything from that yes because at 12:29 there's a no. And look,
Right.
while that is a very difficult standard to adhere to as young people that you reflect upon your college lifestyle, that would be a very difficult standard to adhere to. It's far more difficult if you don't understand it. So understanding the standard can equip you to not be in these situations. So I'm not talking about the gray area. I'm talking about
I'm just
situations.
saying it gets to the point where when we talk about what the punishment now, I want to hope that most of these are true accusations. I mean, on one side I do, on one side I don't. I don't want to think there's all these rapists sitting out there, but I hate to think that somebody did it bad. So I tell my son, never disrespect a young lady, never talk about her bad behind her back that you've laid down with, because I think most human beings, if you don't, a woman can't beat you up,
That you
right?
laid down. I'm put my finger in my little wedge, the little kid that I saw grow up. But
Him grown now. Him grown
I'm
now.
pretend like you didn't say that, man.
So
Don't mess up
I'm
my
gonna
image
tell
of
you,
little Reg.
I've been telling him this for years. The statute of limitations for consent is 24 months. A woman can go back and rescind her yes for 24 months, right? After the act, and decide it was no, and you're going to jail. Or you're going to get arrested at least. And I say that a little tongue in cheek, but I'm saying that kind of positively. What would make a woman retroactively rescind her yes is you embarrassing her, right? A woman can't beat you up, right? For the most part. I don't know who you're into, what kind of women you used to like back in the day, but women can't beat you up. So the only thing she can do is get you in law and reputation and do whatever. If you embarrass a woman, I don't, I've never had anybody say anything crazy about me that wasn't true, some female, right? That any accusations, never been anything. And I think the reason why is I just never disrespect a woman. I never talk about her bad. I never treat her, make her feel bad about whatever happened. And I think at that point you keep it civil. So I don't want to blame this young man for what happened, but I will say, if you're messing with the wrong types, you know what I mean. There's just you could wonder they could go south. But as a man, if you treat a woman with respect, no matter how casual the situation is, and you just don't do whatever, you lessen the chance of her trying to do something that severe. Because I don't think women are dying to have rape charges against somebody. They're dying to see them go
Yo,
through all
no
this
one.
stuff.
And let me make sure
But
I
if you've
clarify too.
disrespected this woman and you did something to her, she's willing to do that because she can't beat you up. She can't do anything to. You've hurt her so bad, you made her so mad, she wants to do it. So I don't know that he did anything, and I don't want to accuse him of doing anything. But if there's any young men out there listening, be nice to the girl. Call her later, talk to her, be nice to her, never say anything bad, let her hear her name, be it spoken about in the locker room afterwards. Never do anything to make her regret what she did with you, and you'll probably be all right.
And let me make sure I clarify. I don't think that anybody with any logical frame of mind wants their name in one of these situations. So young ladies aren't raising their hand volunteering to be in some long, ongoing, salacious conversation about sexual assault. Nobody signs up for that. But at the same time, history has shown that there are people that will allege knowingly, falsely information and consider it retribution of some sort. And that's the area that I'm talking about. Is that, man?
Understood.
Because you never come back for that.
Never.
For the rest of his life, I don't care how much he pays to scrub the interwebs and internets. His name is going to be associated with an alleged sexual assault.
That sucks.
And that sucks. If indeed nothing happened as he alleges. If something did happen, I'm happy that the victim had the courage to report it, and he deserves the maximum consequence that the law will allow, because no one deserves to be the victim of your essentially, feeling untouchable, right? Like you feel you're above the law. Nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves that. So, We'll see. But the WNBA conversation, college basketball women's conversation, and then connected with this, there is this Mars and Venus, distinction that we still have that we probably got to come to terms with. Because when you hear stories like this, it's almost not 100%, but men feel like, why would you wait till right now to report that? And we almost naturally defend.
When did they claim that he did it?
I don't know the timing on the accusation, but I didn't look at it. But he just turned himself in. He had to pay. He got out on bail. I think $25,000 bail. And then women who hear naturally believe, yeah, he probably did it because a lot of these athletes feel invincible. And so neither one of our assumptions has any merit, right? Until we get more facts. But I'm disappointed to see where a lot of these conversations are going, and we've got to be proactive and responsible to make sure that they're going in a more productive way, and that there is at least innocent to proven guilty applies to all people, and also we got to at least assume that no woman wants to be involved in a said story, because sexual assault is no one wants to be a victim of that. So we'll see. Be an interesting case as the draft will be here in 13 days now. Let's do our spotlight moment, and I think that we've got to do two this week. The first one has to be
Oven chicken. That man.
Oven chicken.
That man.
Alex Ovechkin surpasses Wayne Gretzky. Quick response. Has more goals than him now. Is he now the greatest?
I've never seen a comparison that is so direct. They had played. Well, now I'm sure Ovechkin has probably played a couple more games, but he one upped him by one goal in the same amount of games. Right? He tied him with one game left. He went on a tear. I don't watch hockey, but do most hockey players score every damn game? Like for the last. He scored one or two
ones, yeah, but 895 goals. He used the number to surpass Wayne Gretzky. It's a lot of goals.
Well, the thing that threw me off was like, damn, I was watching the race when I remember he was like 6 back 6 games ago, and he was like, bam, bam, bam. I'm like every game, Right. So I don't know. I feel like we got to say he's the greatest, and I think that we're going to go back and say he wasn't, because 31 years of Wayne Gretzky holding that title. It's 31 years saying Wayne Gretzky was I think he beat Gordie Hall, whatever. 31 years of him doing it. I couldn't believe Oven Chicken was still in the NHL. I don't watch hockey like that, but this dude's still been out there. And now you would think he's like LeBron. Like he's scoring goals this season like he's fresh. So I know that Gretzky has more championships.
I think that's why you see where I was going with it.
I'm not a championship guy like that.
No. You didn't fall for the bait. I tried to bait you to say no, he's not better because he surpassed him, and I was going to then use the analogy of LeBron and MJ, and now you sort of open up Pandora's box because you brought in championships.
Neither one of them is a perennial champion. Let's say that, right? 4-1, and they both played forever, so it's not like they have. I mean, I guess that's a lot. I mean, 7. I mean, that's a lot. Let me take that back. Gretzky's got a lot of championships. 4. I don't know. I just hate holding. I look at the Dan Marinos of the world and the Barry Sanders of the world, and I'm just like, I just can't. I can't. I look at the Charles Barkley. Basketball is different. You only got 5 people out there. Hockey. What do you have? All the shifts that you do, you got to have about 10, 12 people.
I don't know what their rotation looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of people involved. You can have a sorry goalie. You can have no defense. You're doing all, you don't have the same two-way players like you do in basketball, where basketball, although it hurts my argument, ultimately it's probably a more fair comparison than anything else because it's 5-on-5, right? But in hockey, I mean, you every 30 seconds you shift everyone comes off the ice except the goalie. Every 30 seconds. So you got like first string, second string. To hold that championship against one man that scored that many goals, come on. You know what I mean? Can we really say that's too much? That's too much. So
fair.
Anyway, but I think Oven Chicken is the best.
Oven chicken. For those who are still tuned in, let us know. Does surpassing Wayne Gretzky at 895 goals is the argument over? Is Alex Ovechkin a
Oven
better
chicken.
player than Wayne the Great Gretzky? Let's go home with this last one, man, and then we'll get out of here for the day.
Okay.
The Masters. In this episode of Keeping It Rebellious, do you know who the favorite is to win the Masters?
I thought it was my man that was even par yesterday. What's it do? Roy McIlroy.
Rory McIlroy. No,
Yeah.
he had the second highest odds. The highest odds was the champion from last year, Scotty Scheffler.
And how's he doing?
He's plus 450 in the odds. I didn't see round one. My ball hawk spotlight moment was more about this and keeping it rebellious. The fact that we don't tune into the Masters anymore, their rebellion sells. People loved or hated Tiger, and no matter where you were on that love and hate continuum, you tuned in. Rebellion sells. I don't watch the Masters if there isn't something to love or hate about the Masters.
You said Scotty Scheffler?
Yes.
He's tied for fifth at 4 back, or 4 under, and the leader is 9 under. But he's got 13. He's golfed today, and Scheffler hasn't started.
All right. We understand that rebellion, rebels, sells. How does a sport like golf overcome it? Because there is no Tiger Woods figure now. People aren't watching at the same rate that they were. The game hasn't changed. It's still as difficult. It's still as unique as it was when Tiger was playing. To be good at golf is the equivalent of being good at freaking going to the batter's box and being able to hit Major League Baseball. It's really, really rare that you find somebody that has sustained success and that becomes a household name. What does golf do? Because there is no rebel. There is no Tiger Woods figure. What can golf do to bring you into something like the Masters? I didn't realize the Masters started. Whereas rewind in the Tiger Woods era of golf, I'm going to a bar to watch the first round and see where Tiger is after that first round of golf.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done it since. How do we get it back? It's Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. How do we get the entertainment value of golf such that it impacts the business? Because the sport itself is one that relies on these individual figures to draw us in. And there is no Tiger right now. What say you?
We had a couple things. We had to allow fouls.
We're gonna get hit with a 9-iron.
We gotta have live betting between the players on the thing, betting on the holes.
I think they're doing that with some other form of it. But
no, I mean like Tiger need to be like, I bet you like on the microphone, put 1,000 on this next putt, right? That'll make it exciting.
He's got to be able to say like, put 1,000 on a bitch. It's got to be,
and they have to introduce the drink cart. You start letting these dudes get busted a little bit, get a little loose, and I think they should have carts.
And you watch it then.
I think the only thing make the carts sexy. You know what I mean? Like NASCAR, those carts. You know what I'm saying?
I think you just proved that you are a complete Neanderthal. I was trying to come up with a business argument. You just proved that football players cannot be a part of this resolution. My gosh, you don't like next you're gonna be like ring girls. She have ring girls at every hole too.
You don't like ring girls, man. Whole girls. It'd be fantastic. Somebody hold this up for birdie. Somebody really attractive. This is an eagle putt. That'd be fantastic.
I think you might have saw it.
Between the two of us, they got the new thing, the little video game golf that they're doing.
Yeah, I like that.
The team tournament, they talk a little shit. Like dude was doing a putt, dude dropped his shit in the background. We need more leather. It's too uptight of a sport in general. All these rules, you got to wear pants, tuck your shirt in, you got to have a hat, you got to take your hat off at the end, you got to walk, you can't do all this stuff. Boring, man. I want them to be Ja Morant. When he makes a slip putt, you know what I mean? He let
There
off
you
about
have it.
3.
You need John Morant, PGA.
We need
If you
some
need
shit talking. And I'm
any
not
more
even a shit talker,
advice,
but it's too
call
stuffy.
us. We got you.
Golf is too stuffy. We just need
Too
to do
stuffy.
something. Bust our shots, dude. Do that stuff. You know, do Mrs. Putt tell him he's too little. When you out drive him, you tell him he's too little. We need some of that type of shit.
I think it'll have more of an impact. The John Morant celly, when you just actually take your golf ball, just throw it up in the air and do like this when it hits, I think has more of an impact.
Like the first day had some unbelievable putts and some unbelievable. My wife out of town and stuff, so I'm pulling the tags off mattresses and stuff like that. And I've been sleeping with the TV on because she won't allow me to do that when she's in town. So I've been hearing a lot about the Masters more than usual. But there was some great putts, a couple hole in ones. They had the little kid came out the first round and shit. That girl, you see, a little baby daughter, she probably was 3.
Yeah,
she hit about
that was cute.
a 30-foot putt. Fantastic. We like to see more stuff like that. So bring it out. We need to have some different things, but we need more personality. That golf doesn't allow you to show your personality, and that sucks. The Big Flow tournament. Would you golf?
I like it.
How much would you
I
pay
was gonna
for?
Go Ball Hog Sports Talk tournament, but I'll do Big Flow.
How much would you pay for a foursome in the Big Flow tournament?
Let's price it and figure it out, man.
You'll figure it out. Get some sponsorships. We'll do something. I have ring girls, shot girls every hole. We'll get everything right. We'll make sure.
My man,
John Morant's people. See, all the girls from Memphis. John Morant, I'm not paying your tuition this semester. Come out and work at the golf, the Big Flow golf tournament.
Lionel Phillips makes a great point. He talked about the Tiger impact and how Top Golf and other stuff on TV is basically a byproduct, right? It's a byproduct of all the eyes and us wanting the intentional focus on something. I think he's got a point, man. So Tiger Woods lives on even if he ain't playing. I do think that impact is real. With that, man, it's been a great show. Keeping it rebellious. I say all weekend, you guys should keep it rebellious. My man Jay Crit asked for an update on the boys. Not much of an update on mine. We're just getting ready for EYBL and the summer that is, running track. Working with quarterback trainers, getting ready for high school. Not much of an update here, man, but I do agree with Jay Crit. Let's end on a positive note. That's my update for Bray. My other one, Thatcher's off school today. I should have put him on the show today. Getting ready for 7th grade.
We didn't have enough NIL money for him.
NIL money. Yeah, he was like, Dad, you got to pay me for that appearance. That's where we heading with this.
I think I told you guys my son is off to Slippery Rock. Maybe we haven't said that yet, but my son will be attending Slippery Rock in right outside of Pittsburgh.
Congratulations to him. Drop a bomb.
Thanks. You know, change it up a little bit. Gonna get on this field, do something, see if we can't bring home a championship. They are a D2 school. They finished number 3 in the nation last year. Coaching staff is really excited about getting them. We're really excited about getting down there and having some fun again.
Amen to that, man. Games should be fun, especially at that age. Play it and play it fast. And play it with a smile on your face, because those are the memories you hold on to forever. So all the best to him. Any last words, parting shots? What you got?
I hope it's nice out this weekend so I can do nothing and have fun looking at the birds. It looks beautiful right now, so looking forward to
just blink if you need help. Prisoner of war. You sound like a Chicagoan is always complaining about the weather, man. Come on east, man. Get some of this good old pollen filled air here, bro. My parting shots would be going down and do a May tournament with my son. The basketball keeps on happening. Make sure that you build a full-fledged athlete. Make him a well-rounded athlete. It has paid off. That's my advice to those sports parents out there. Make them a great athlete. You can always catch up in skills. It's hard to catch up as an athlete. With that, man, this has been where sports, business, and entertainment collide. It's the Ball Hog Sports Talk. It's the Keeping It Rebellious episode. The Big Flow Show has been in the building from the Middle Coast. I'm your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of South, a.k.a. Mr. Success Celebration, a.k.a. Breezy, a.k.a. Coach Bobby, a.k.a. Councilman Bobby. And we are the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. A few businessmen get together to discuss sports in entertainment fashion. We do it one way and one way only, rough, rugged, and raw. This has been our episode. It's been a labor of love. We ask you kindly, we ask you every week, please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe. Tag anyone you know, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the podcast. I promise you, when you send it to somebody, they will be happy because we do it and we do it the right way. It's sports, it's business, it's entertainment. It is the Ball Hog Sports Talk, and it is finally that time of the show. We wish you well. Blessings to you and your family for the weekend. We is out. Peace.